Hey friend, Roger Christopherson here again with another first listen review. It's also another one of those first listen reviews where I've listened to it about 4 times in a row now, possibly 5. I actually lost track how many times I listened to this thing, but I actually wanted to do this last weekend, but I didn't get around to listening to it until this weekend, when all the new stuff is coming out for this week. So anyway, a little behind on this one. I was really excited for this album. The last album, The Quest, was kind of like not exactly what I was hoping for. It kind of left me a little bit and that's kind of how I felt about the last one. It had a few good points here and there, but wasn't anything that really amazed me on the last one, so I was really hoping for something a little bit better on this one. So as you can probably tell kind of how this review is already headed. I know I'm probably getting a little bit of slack for saying this, but also, even though I know there's been like a whole slew of members that have come in and out of Yes, at this point there is no original members in the band at all. So even Steve Howe was not on the first album. He actually left for a few years. I think about 12 years he dipped out and came back, so he wasn't even consistent. You got Jeff Downs, who joined in back in I think it was 80. He did the drama, and then he was gone. I mean, in and out kind of quickly, but he's been back with them for quite a while now, many years now. I can't remember what year he came back into the fold, but other than that, you got Jay Shellen here, who this is his first official album. I think he did a little bit of work on The Quest, and he did the tour, but this is his first official album. Funny part is, I think he was the one who played drums in John Payne's band after Payne left Downs' version of Asia. I think that's correct, but if I'm wrong on that, correct me, but I think that's how it is. Now he's back playing with Downs, who wasn't involved in that at all. Maybe Jay Shellen played in an Asia album. I'm going to have to check that out after I'm done with this. I actually can't remember, which is amazing because I usually know this stuff pretty good, but I'll have to check that when I'm done with this. But feel free to comment on that, on when he played in, with Downs or not. But anyway, so then you got Billy Sherwood, who's been involved with Yes since back in the late 90s. And John Davidson, I think he joined back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So, they've been around for a while, but still no original members, which, like I said, you've had members come in and out. You had, the reemergence of Yes back in 83, where they completely changed their sound, and that was like one of their biggest albums that they had, and I think still is the biggest as far as sales and stuff goes. They haven't ever topped that. However, I don't think this album's gonna break any sales records, unfortunately, or break any new ground, really. Usually I go through and just go through the songs, song by song. This one I'll probably just stick more like the positives versus the negatives, I guess. It's kind of weird too. It's only 60 minutes or 63 minutes of music, but they have it broken up between 2 discs, and the bonus disc is like all written by Howe, and the whole album's produced by Howe, which is weird because he had, Jeff Downs, who actually produced Steve Howe's GTR with Steve Hackett band way back. Actually wrote a song for that. Yeah, but Jeff Downs has like 1 writing credit, and that's it. That's really, and I'm not sure exactly what his involvement is as far as keyboard playing goes on this, because they got orchestra filling in a few songs, kind of like not quite as big a deal as they did back for Magnification, when they just had just a orchestra, replacing what would have been keyboard parts. That was the one album they did that, which I also didn't care for too much. But anyway, this is my opinion. I'm just stressing this is just my opinion. Don't persecute me too much on this. I'm just sharing how this album, and maybe a couple other ones, how I've perceived them or what I think of them. So anyway, getting back to this one, it's funny because it's, I don't know, John Davidson, who I remember when I heard him first in Glass Hammer, I thought, man, this guy sounds a lot like John Anderson. And now that he's in Yes, I don't think he sounds as good with Yes as he did with Glass Hammer. John Anderson just has this voice that has a little bit more emotion, and it somehow just fit the Yes music more. Although it's kind of strange because a lot of the writing on this comes from Billy Sherwood and Davison, and the two guys that were like in Yes more, like Downs was in Yes before. Excuse me, and you got Howe. I guess Howe's got, what, 4 writing credits on the main album part, and then he wrote all the bonus stuff. So I don't know. But the funny part is when I saw Yes, it was at with a different singer than either John Davidson or Jay Anderson. It was with what was his name, Benoit David or David Benoit? I can't remember which way is which now, but I saw him on that tour, and it was a great show. I really was impressed with how good they did. And I think Oliver, if I remember, it was Oliver Wakeman on keyboards and Alan White on drums for that tour, and they did a whole lot of the songs from the Drama album, which was great. I really enjoyed that show, but it's just kind of funny. That's the only time I've seen him is without either one of these singers. That's the other thing I was going to get to with the keyboard playing. I was talking about Jeff Downs, is he's not exactly a progressive player. He's more known for like textures and songwriting. I mean, he did do some lead stuff. I mean, if you listen to the albums and especially the live stuff he did with Asia, he did some solos and stuff, but it wasn't like he was known for progressive playing, not like Wakeman or anything like that. Tony Kaye wasn't exactly, I guess, the most progressive player either, but he did a little bit more than anything Jeff Downs I've heard him do, at least with Yes. Jeff Downs has some solo stuff where he gets a little bit more into that, but he's not doing as much with Yes, which I just find strange. Although I will say that this album is a little bit more progressive than the last couple. They've got elements of things in here that lead down to the more progressive vein. They have a little bit longer songs. There's a couple 9-minute ones. There's a 13-minute title track, which kind of harkens back to the earlier Yes thing. Where it was just longer songs, and that's fun to listen to. Although quite honestly, none of these songs are really sticking out to me quite yet, and after several listens, like nothing's really jumping out and grabbing me. In fact, there's a lot of like areas in this where it's just kind of like slow and laid back and not really upbeat or anything at all, which I think they could have cut some of that out just personally. Nothing's bad, but it seems like that's not really the type of music we're used to hearing from Yes. They're usually they fill up the space pretty good, for lack of a better description. The production is good. And it's funny that, it doesn't have the feel I would want. Maybe I'm aging myself a little bit, but their earlier stuff was recorded analog. I just think it had a better, warmer sound to it than stuff that's recorded, all digital nowadays. And Steve Howe produced this, which I already mentioned, which, I don't know what other production stuff he's actually been involved in, quite honestly. I know Jeff Downs is actually more known as being a producer than anything I've ever heard of Steve Howe, so it's just kind of strange he had no involvement with that. But, the latter from Yes was actually one of, I think it holds the notoriety of being the very first album recorded completely digitally. So, and I really think that's probably the last really good album from Yes, in my opinion. I mean, one that I would reach for. These other ones since then, even Keys to Ascension is, it started losing me a little bit with that one. And especially anything beyond that. What was that one that, like, Open Your Eyes? I don't think I've listened to that one in years, just because nothing on that one, really did much for me. So I don't know if this one here is going to bring me back to that either. So unfortunately, it's probably the case. It's funny, they got Steve Howe sings on this, and I don't know why. He sang on the last one too, and there's like, not to be mean, but there's really nothing about his voice that would make me want to listen to him sing. And you got Billy Sherwood in here, who was a really good singer as well, and he's not very prominent at all, although there's really good harmonies and the vocal lines are good. It just seems really odd that Howe sings on quite a few of these too. How many? Like 4 of the. You got 4 songs, and there's only. Total there's only 9 songs, including the bonus disc. That's like half the songs he actually sings on, so it's really just a little strange to me. I will say that Billy Sherwood, his playing on this album is actually phenomenal. The bass playing he does, he really has earned my respect as a bass player. If people don't know, he was really good friends with Chris Squire there, and I think on this one he's actually trying to maybe emulate his playing, and which I respect. He I think did a good job in trying to emulate the style of playing he would do on this one. It's not quite the same as what you would remember hearing from any of the side projects. I mean, Billy Sherwood's been involved in so many other side projects, and his style of bass playing and whatever else he's done was not the same as Chris. And I think this is probably one of those bands where you'll notice that how important the bass player actually is to a band. Chris was involved in every album up until he passed. He was involved in every single album. He was the one consistent member, and I think his bass playing held the sound of the band together no matter who was in it. I think, and it really shows since he's been gone, that how much he actually contributed to the Yes sound, and he sang as well, background vocals in very similar style to Billy Sherwood too. So I was really happy to hear him, what I think he was trying to play as Chris would played. I thought that was kind of a cool thing to do on this album, so I'll give him really high props for that. As far as anything else goes, I don't know. I just find it odd that after Benoit was not in the band, they didn't have John Anderson come back and sing. You hear John talk in interviews, which I've watched a few. He really loves Yes still. I don't think he understands why it's not in the band. If he does, I don't know if there's bad blood or something with somebody else in the band. Maybe Steve Howe. I know Steve Howe seems like I've heard from other people that he's a little bit difficult to work with. So I don't know if there's some bad blood there. I really don't know, but it seems like he would have been perfect to come back in the band. I don't know. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I don't know why it didn't happen. No, disrespect to John Davison, but I guess it's almost like, well, he's the runner-up. It's in the Yes world, because he sounds a lot like John Anderson. Just doesn't have that raspiness. He doesn't have the the same feel as John had, or the same creativity. I mean, it just doesn't sound like he had much emotion singing on this album. I don't know. I don't want to say too much bad about it, because like I said, there's nothing that's bad on this. But when you're used to what we've grown up with, a lot of us, and what we've heard in the past, and what Yes can be, this is to me, it was just a little bit of a letdown. So I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Obviously, not everybody's going to agree with what I had to say here. There might be some people that do. Either way, feel free to share your feelings on this, and what I was mentioning about Jay Shellen, if anybody beats me to it, if you really did what projects he was involved with these guys before this. I can't remember them all right off the top of my head, but always feel free to chime in and give me your feelings on Yes, and if you've heard the album, what you think, and all that fun stuff. And as always, be sure to subscribe, and share, and all that. It really helps. I've known a few more subscribers on here, which is cool, and I enjoy the conversations that we have. And I'm gonna try to keep up with this a little bit more. Than I've got a little bit more time on my hands than I have for the past few months. So I appreciate everybody stopping in and listening. And I'm gonna keep this rolling, and come up with some more stuff here for the next week. And we're gonna keep this show rolling. So talk to you guys later. See you.